everybody. Today we're back working on our Labyrinth inspired image by Maud Lamoine, and this picture is actually called Everlasting Love, and the version that I'm colouring is from Fantasy Figures Special Colouring Heaven, but this image is also available on Maud Lamoine's Etsy group, and I will link that in the description below. Unfortunately, I did manage to crease this one when I scanned it to make the thumbnail, but if plans go according to plan, that will be underneath the collage of her skirt, so yeah, not really a big deal. I think today I will start by colouring Jareth's outfit there and see where we go from there. So I'll just jump straight in. I'll zoom us in a little bit and we'll start colouring Jareth's jacket here. I'm going to start today by colouring these parts that we left on this jacket to be coloured in gold, and the colour combination I usually use on top of this marker, this one is Y7, the dull yellow that I've used as a base for these gold bits, and my colour combination is actually from Castle Art's gold pencils, and I'll show you that before we start. These are the colours I use. I have Slate Grey, which is 200 GP, Earth Green, which is 201 GP, Green Gold, which is 076 GP, that is Naples Yellow Light, 073 GP, and that's the Polychromos Black that I sometimes bring in for the darkest shadows. And I find this combination does work quite well on top of this marker. I realised as well I did miss out a little bit of Jareth's hair there coming over his shoulder, so I'll go in and fill that in a little bit later. But for now I'm going to start with this gold, and usually I start with the darkest colour, which would be the Slate Grey, filling in just the darkest areas of this gold. And yeah, two of the colours are like called green, but I think they do make quite a nice little gold combination. It's the one that I like to use anyway. There may be better ones out there, so if anybody's got any tips or tricks for colouring gold, I'm all for that. But this is a combination that I've kind of started using lately, and I think it works quite well, so I'm sticking with it for now. And I'm just putting the darkest shadows where these strands of this kind of Celtic pattern are crossing over each other. I know it has got a proper name, but I couldn't tell you off the top of my head what it is. But where the strands of this pattern are crossing over each other, I'm bringing in the darkest Slate Grey there. And I'll just colour this pattern first to show you how the colours work together. Next darkest, which is the Earth Green. Trying to blend that into the Slate Grey a little bit. And bringing those shadows out. Oh, and I've missed a bit. I've missed a bit with the Slate Grey. There we go. I'm kind of treating this as a little bit of a warm-up. Get my brain into colouring mode, as I think I pretty much know what I'm doing with gold. Once we get onto his actual jacket, then we're getting into winging it territory. And I'm going to try and make his jacket look fairly sparkly, because again I'm looking at the same kind of shot from the movie, and his jacket is sparkly. The top bit of his jacket here, super sparkly, loads of crystals and rhinestones and stuff stuck onto it. So I want to give that kind of impression. So we'll see how we can work out how to do that. There we go, that's the Earth Green. Moving on to the Green Gold now. Which is only a slightly different colour than the actual marker, but I think it does look quite well. I think I've missed a few bits again. And as these parts, if this was a 3D shape, it's printed onto his jacket or embroidered or something. But if it was a 3D shape, these bits would be curving upwards and kind of out as they go over the ones that's underneath. So that's where the light would be hitting it. That's where I'm going to be making my lightest part. Going back in with the Earth Green there because I missed a little bit, as I am very prone to do. There we go. And then with the Naples yellow light, that's the very lightest colours. So that would be where the shape would curve out. Adding in a bit of highlight, and yeah, as usual, there will be white gel pen, I think. It is kind of hard to see the way my lamp is shining here. I'm getting a little bit of glare, but hopefully you guys can actually see what's going on there. See that this, yeah, does make a kind of pretty convincing gold, I think. More of the old, duller gold, less of the yellow gold, but again, we don't really want to be attracting attention with the shiny gold embellishments on his jacket. And yeah, doing all these on all the gold parts all at once probably be a good idea, but yeah, I'm way too impatient for that. There we go. It's looking about right to me. So we'll move on to do this pattern here, which is a lot more complicated. I have left it. Done the easy one first. Again, first going in with the slate grey. Trying to do all the parts that would be the darkest. Again, where these kind of strands of the pattern cross over each other. In any kind of shadowing areas. And with the light coming from the right, wasn't it? Yeah, light's coming from the right, so any shadow would be cast this way. Like that. Takes a bit of puzzling out. Anytime we're kind of drawing metallics. I think the shiny reflections is what actually makes it though, so as long as we get it looking as if it could be possibly shiny, I think we're good. This could actually be a bracelet of some sort. But either way, the gold will work, I think, for it, so. It's not part of the actual movie costume, so we're just kind of rolling with what we actually had in the picture here, making it fit. Try and make it look darker over towards this side, especially here under the leaf, because there wouldn't be much light getting to there. Don't want to go too mad though. So we'll go in with the earth green. Second darkest. But yeah, I do find metal quite hard to figure out, to be honest. Not the best at colouring metal. Although, from speaking to my other half lately, I'm thinking that metal is going to be one of my monthly themes coming up quite shortly, so that should be interesting. Maybe I'll learn a few more ways to colour metal, a few more colour combinations. But for this month, it's not the focus. The focus is the film and TV, so the gold isn't the most important part, thankfully. And hopefully I will find time to edit and actually get this one up on Saturday, fingers crossed. But I think I have mentioned before that doing a kind of a longer video like this, where it's 2 or 3 hours I have to go through and edit, it does take quite a while. Even when I'm trying to keep it as unedited as possible, I still have to go through, pretty much watch the whole thing, cut out any kind of pencil sharpening breaks or coffee breaks. So yeah, it is quite a long process, so hopefully I'll find a bit of time to get this one edited and up. I've no idea how many parts there will be for this one. It's kind of an up in the air thing at the moment. yeah, hopefully it's kind of this kind of setup where you're basically just following along on my colouring session. As kind of unedited as possible. It's entertaining, at least. I do tend to go a little bit crazy, mix and match my pencils. But the aim is to give a little bit of inspiration, maybe, if nothing else. Give maybe some of you guys some ideas of how you can change your colouring pages into something that's more personal to you. Maybe representing films or TV that you love. Whoops. And even the colours I'm using are just suggestions, really. I just go for whichever pencils I think the colours will work best for what I'm trying to achieve. So any colour combinations that you actually have for gold, or even other ideas for making the hair or the skin, yep, go for that. I think it's the idea that's the main point. But yeah, feel free to use the same colours or the same idea. That is the whole point. I'm just going in with the white highlights there, make that gold shine a little bit. So yeah, it's kind of hard to see the way my lamp is glaring on there. Hopefully it is showing up for you guys and you can see what's going on there. We have some belt buckles here as well with the gold, so it's like the same combination going in with the slate grey. This time there's no little twisty bits, so slightly easier. And yeah, I've gone a little bit over with the black there, but we'll make that into a white highlight and we're good to go. A little tiny bit of decoration on this one, I think, something along those lines. Now her hand will be casting a shadow, so we'll add that in. And I'm sure if any of you have watched the last video, you were shouting at me for smudging that nail polish and not noticing. I did finally get around to fixing it pretty close to the end when I did notice. But yeah, I do seem to have I'm not sure if it's a bad habit of clearing away kind of debris by swiping with my hand. And yeah, that silver just was not dry. So that was a little bit of a mistake. But an easy fixable one, thank goodness. I don't think it's that easy to tell now. Just adding in the earth green now. And yeah, it's called earth green, but it's not really very green, that one. And green gold. Maybe this is looking kind of more like brass. Could be the paper. Shiny and decorative anyway. It's all good. And hopefully kind of looking a little bit 3D there. Let's maybe give a little bit of a shadow with the polychromes black. Especially on where her hand goes over there. We will be having quite dark black shadows there because yeah, his cape is going to be black, so most of this area will be dark. Let's add a few white highlights. Wait till the end. No. I'm way too patient to wait till the end. I like to see how things are turning out as I go. So yeah, I do put in all my white highlights pretty much straight away. If they get rubbed off, it's pretty easy to go back in and remake them, so no big deal. See what I'm doing there, hopefully. Again, we're trying to put the shadows in where the strands of this pattern are crisscrossing over each other. Make it darker towards this side. The light will probably be hitting here because that's where his hip is kind of curving out. So this will be more in dark here, and this will be more in dark here. Once all his outfit is coloured, might be able to start working on her skirt, but to be perfectly honest, I still haven't fully figured out how I'm going to be colouring that. There'll be lots of glitter, I think. We're making that underneath his arm. There, more shaded. Onto the earth green. Whoops. I think my hand was getting in the way a little bit there. I do apologise. If I get focused, I tend to forget that I am actually filming, which is probably a bad thing. That probably explains the lack of talking in most parts. So there we go, that's the earth green. Going on to the green gold. Getting towards this area will probably be a lot more shady, so I'm going to try and add oops, sorry, I do lose my train of thought. We're trying to add the darker colours into the areas each side because those would be in the shade with the light coming out to the middle here, which is where we will add the white highlights. That's how I imagine it anyways. Of course they don't actually exist in the movie scene, so we are making it up a tad. And yeah, the white highlights around that part around his hip most mainly. Not for the most part, mainly. Like that, maybe. Hopefully that's looking like gold that's kind of in the shade. Because we do have his arm coming across there, and if our light is coming this way, his arm would be casting shadows. So if we make that look less shiny, more shady. And lastly we have this little kind of bracelet bit. And this would be, out of everything, this would probably be the lightest, so I'm going in with the Slate Grey. I forgot what it was called. Slate Grey. but not going too crazy. Maybe more towards the bottom part of his arm than the top, because the light is coming from this way. So the top of his bracelet would be in the light more than the bottom. Something like that. I think if I was being super lazy, I would have maybe just coloured the whole thing with the gold Sharpie. Let me sharpen that pencil. Yeah, I have been known to do that quite a lot. Just colour the whole area with the gold Sharpie. But I'm trying not to be so lazy. Although, yeah, feel free to do that because it's what I would normally do. Just colour the whole thing with gold Sharpie. Maybe shade this bottom edge with a dark brown colour. Add a couple white highlights to the top. Usually I'm not one for fiddly patterns. Jarrett's outfit is supposed to be fairly decorative, so yeah, figured I would try. See how we could get on. Try not to go so dark with this one as we did with the belt. Maybe bring in that Naples yellow a lot more. Top part mainly, I think it would come. There we go. Few lights. Looking like it might be gold, I think. While I'm thinking about it, I'll just add a little bit of the warm greys, Castle Arts Gold Warm Grey. Finish off this little strand of hair we have going around the back here. If I remember right, we shaded that with the warm grey. Maybe a tiny little bit of the cool grey. That is cool grey 065 GP. The warm grey is 161 GP. And the Arteza cream, which is A100. And this is the watercolour version because, yeah, I couldn't get hold of the normal version. Open stop. That should do us. Let me see. I think I started shading this cape with the Polychromos black, so I'll go in with that. Would be coming up over his shoulders, and in the back would be darker. At the moment, planning on making those ivy leaves fairly realistic, but no concrete plans as yet. I'm going to go in and use the cool grey. The kind of mid-tone maybe. Push it towards the back. Or maybe I could try using this one. This is Fog Grey, which is A002, I think, from Arteza, A002. To try and bring in some highlights to this cape instead of going in straight away with the white. I thought that might be a little bit of a softer highlight because this cape is black. whenever I colour anything that's black, I like to bring in a little hint of blue. So I've grabbed a Indigo Light here, that's 045 from Castle Arts Gold, because there's a open at the side of me. And I'll try and add in a little bit of the darkest blue, just very, very lightly, because this is my darkest blue. It will be what I'm shading the jacket with, although hopefully it will look a little bit different over this blue marker than it does over the black. Here I go, getting distracted. I wasn't supposed to be colouring his collar, but let's bring it in. Let's go for it. And the collar itself doesn't seem to be that sparkly, and it does have a black lining from what I can see here, so we'll bring in the black lining. Oops, going off camera. We'll bring in the black lining. A little bit of that for grey. Try shade that a little bit with the polychromos black, as we are going over there. We are going into the darkest shadows there, really, that side of the page. Do we have a really bright blue I can use to make that look really shiny? That doesn't seem to be far off. That is Arteza. Again, I'm really mixing my pencils, but I do have to mix my pencils. Maybe making that blue look maybe a little bit iridescent. Yeah, I think maybe that's looking a little bit iridescent now, which is a kind of cool effect. I think we can run with that. Adding in a couple of shadows there for that. For those strands of hair, just with the Indigo Light. And yeah, quite liking how that's coming. Let's see if we can bring this white in. Just along that edge there. Yeah, I quite like that. That does look quite super shiny now. Oh, bringing in that white on top of that robin egg blue. That works quite well. Okay, we have a colour combo for the jacket, people. And we're cooking on gas. Okay. Let's go in with that Indigo Light. And of course, any kind of colour combination there. We need a dark blue, a light, pretty bright blue, and white. As I've said before, I can't really give you any kind of comparison or anything like that because I don't really have many sets of pencils. And I do tend to mix and match quite a lot. So if I do ever do any colour alongs, I will be mixing and matching. At least a little bit, if not completely. But yeah, I love the way this is looking kind of shiny and iridescent now. I think the cobalt turquoise maybe from the Castle Arts Gold would also work. But I think I have that out. I'm using that for something else at the moment, so it's not actually in my tin. So I've gone for this robin egg blue from the Arteza. And that is, yeah, that's working a treat, I think. It's not quite the same as what I'm looking at on the screen, but... And his jacket does seem to be glittery, so we may bring in the glitter later. Going in with black. This would be black as well because this is the black belt that we had. Just while I've got the black in my hand. It's in the same kind of area, so I'll do a little bit of his belt while I'm thinking about it. But yeah, I think I might bring in the glitter on this one. Giving that kind of magical, kind of dreamy effect. And all the costumes were sparkly and spangly. This is the Indigo Light. This area would be quite shady. It would be having a shadow cast by that belt, I would imagine. And bringing in the robin egg blue, or whichever bright light blue that you do have. As I said, none of these colour combinations cast in stone. I'm hoping to give you ideas more than anything, and oh, that, yeah, I like that. Enthusiastic now. I'm getting into this, so probably stop talking pretty soon. I'm sorry. I will try and keep at least mentioning the colours I'm using. I forgot a couple of times in the last video, I think. For the dark cool grey. And then the fog grey. So I thought maybe a little bit of a less of a stark highlight than the white, so yeah, we'll see how that goes. We can always bring in the white gel pen. There I go again, sweeping my hand. I really should stop doing that. We bring in the white. I didn't suppose this would be super shiny, would it? I'll bring in the white for a little bit more of a highlight there. So yeah, I would say don't be so worried about mixing your pencils. I think probably if you do have full sets of maybe polychromos or prismas or pencils like that, you probably have more chance of finding better colours maybe. But for now, this is what we're working with, so I'm gonna make it work. And I think we're actually working quite nicely, to be honest. There's the indigo, robin egg blue, and a little bit of the white. There we go. I do like how that is working. Maybe not as sparkly and spangly as we do have, but I think I do have some blue Dovecraft glitter glue that I could maybe put a little sparing bit on there, and that would look a bit more like we have in the shot I'm looking at, because in the shot I'm looking at, this part, like the front part of the jacket, is just covered in crystals, like blue and clear crystals. I'm not entirely sure I can show the photo, as I've said, because copyright and stuff, I don't know. But if you look up Labyrinth as the world falls down, you'll probably, on Google, you'll probably get quite a few of these kind of ballroom shots and be able to tell what I'm aiming for here. Or maybe think of your own ways to to get that effect. Indigo blue, robbing egg blue. It will be the same every time. I will probably put the pencil names up. At least the first time I use them, I will try and put the pencil names up. And I will try and list them all in the description, in case you do have the same sets as me, you want to try the same colours. But here we're talking a couple of shades of cool grey, maybe a dark blue. You don't even have to mark a base. I just find for quickness it's very convenient. This is the Indigo Light, just giving a little bit of blue to that black. And the fog grey. Some less stark highlights, I'm thinking anyways. There we go. So move on to this belt. Again, be the black, fog grey, cool grey, maybe a bit of the Indigo Light. This is the cool grey. Making these areas, each end, the shadiest areas, to make it look as if the belt is curving out around his body there. So we'll bring in that fog grey. Any kind of really light grey. You could even use white. I'm just using this fog grey to try and make it look as if the belt isn't quite as shiny. Just a tiny little bit of white. Okay, for this last bit of his coat here. Indigo Light, darkest blue. Not really many white highlights on his costume, looking at this picture here. There's some light shining off the crystals at the top of his jacket. But for the actual fabric, it's really, really shiny, but I think it's because that lighter blue, that's what makes it look kind of satiny. I'm not sure if it's that satin, really shiny. So Indigo Light, robin egg blue, and a little bit of the white. And so far I'm happy with how that's going. That's a lot better than I originally planned, I think. Not that there was much of an original plan. There never really is. We go with what we think will work. Okay, where should we go to next? Maybe fill in. Make sure this cape is giving us some nice dark shadows behind his arm there. It's the outside edge, so all the darker shadows would be inside here. Behind his jacket. Hoping there may be time to maybe make a start on Sarah's dress, but I have to see how time goes. I think I'll be happy just to at least get Jareth's costume. That's the inside done there. Try and use the fog grey along this edge just to show that it is on the outside. Be a lot lighter. And for now, we're planning on keeping those ivy leaves in. As I said, I'm not entirely sure how that will work. We cross the bridges when we get to them on this channel. So I'm adding this fog grey along the edges. A lot more than what we have actually inside there, just to make it look like there's a few folds in this cape here. Then we have the polychromos black and the Castle Arts Gold Cool Grey. Might actually bring some white highlights on this. Make it look as if it is coming out over the edge, over the top of that inner kind of lining. Let's try bringing in that white. Just on this outside edge. Maybe might even go in with the gel pen there. We'll see. Just to give a kind of 3D form to it a little bit. And bring in a touch of that blue as we did before. I like to give things a kind of blue undertone if I want it to be looking as if it's black. Although with his actual jacket pink blue, I don't want to be too overboard with it. Yeah, I think we gave up on the stems of these ivy leaves. Not going to make those show up, I don't think. Unless I go over them with the white or the gold gel pen. But I think just on their own, they'll be fine. There's a little stem there I've managed to save. So we try and save it. We can try and save it. And go inside his cape there. See if we can keep that one at least. Cool grey. Let's go over that highlight there because we're going behind the shadow of that leaf there. So the light won't be as bright. Quite like how that's gone so far. Although yeah, this one I think is going to read a little bit better from a distance. Although I have zoomed this in quite close so you can hopefully see what I'm doing. If anybody does want to follow along. But don't feel you have to stick to these colours at all. Anything kind of maybe similar I think will probably work. Or anything you think would work better. Going over that area of her dress, which looks a little messy right now, but that's just in case that collage doesn't quite meet up to the edges. This is the Indigo Light, just to give a little bit of a bluish tinge to that dark cloak, which won't be glittery. I think if I put glitter on it, I'm going to put glitter on his actual jacket. Just the blue parts of his jacket, I think. It's going to be a very sparkly one, but it's a very sparkly kind of dreamy scene in the movie, so I think we're justified. Cool grey, polychromos black, the same colours. Keeping it fairly simple, I think, just a darker light and a mid-tone. Oh, again, I need to stop doing that. Am I off screen? Yep. There we go. Working on this area here, giving a shadow that will be cast by the skirt. Once that's stuck on, and yeah, that's looking pretty messy right now, which is why I cropped in for the thumbnail. But it's looking pretty messy right now. But once we've either cut this area or stuck our skirt on top of that, that will be covered up nicely. But I think we're going to have to make at least Jareth's costume all coloured before we start going in with Sarah's dress. I'm hoping I'll still be able to stick that down and put glitter glue on, because glitter glue does tend to wrinkle the page, so I'm not sure how that would affect actually collaging some white paper on, but I'm willing to take the gamble, see how that works. That's looking alright for the cape, I think. Just swapping between those three colours, the black polychromos and the cool grey from Gas Arts Gold. Blending into that fog grey, Arteza fog grey, and maybe adding a tiny touch of this indigo light. Yeah, we're looking pretty good, I think. They're definitely going the way I would hope it would go. Back to the black. These darker areas of the cape. Going way off into the dark here behind him. I haven't quite decided on a background yet, but I was thinking maybe a sort of bokeh effect with kind of ochre-y yellow, maybe yellow orange kind of colours. I'm trying to make it a very blurry bokeh effect with lots of sparkles, and yeah, and then maybe going in with some more collage. I found some collage paper with clocks, watches on it, like watch faces, and I think maybe put one of those in the corner, because that's quite a prominent feature of the film, like the clock. She has 13 hours to save her brother. Her little baby Toby, she has 13 hours, and the clock has 13 hours on it. So bringing in a clock face and maybe adding a 13. Maybe that would bring in the movie a little more. And also the fancy script. I think I might have suggested that before, with maybe some lyrics from the song. A few ideas floating around. But of course, it's getting the ideas from your head onto the paper. Not entirely sure how that will work. Of course, I can see it perfectly. I have a vision, but whether we can get that vision to work, that will be the question. And of course, if anybody is following along, you don't need to go all that way with the collage and adding extra background and stuff like that. These kind of videos are mainly for inspiration. Don't feel pressured to follow exactly. Make your own interpretation. Yeah, it's ideas and inspiration. That's the whole point. I remember when I first started, I was looking at work other people were doing and like flipping through videos on YouTube and thinking, oh, I haven't got all those pencils, I'll never be able to do it. But yeah, you don't need the exact pencils, you don't need fancy pencils. Just take the idea and run with it. Use whatever you've got. I think I'm a lot more relaxed about it now. Whenever I do see anybody's work that's inspiring, I think about how I can get the same sort of effect with materials that I have. And maybe try a few different ways. And I think once you know a method of actually doing something, like the theory behind something, you can go ahead, run with it, play around with the idea, which is what I do quite a lot. Try several different versions. One way works, so try a few other different ways, see if that works better or worse. Okay, let's see. Oh, I really need to stop doing that. I don't want to smudge anything else. Of course, it would be more sensible to use the gel pen at the end when it doesn't matter whether I smudge it or not, but this is impatient me. And in these shadowy areas, there wouldn't be much highlight at all, so we can go over that a little bit. As usual, not the neatest, and any over the edge there on the leaves we can tidy up when we go in with the pencils at some point in the not too distant future, hopefully. Okay, that's passable, I think, for a cape there. See all that? I think that's passable. Okay, I think I'll go on to do this sleeve now before I do the rest of the black. So Indigo Light, and there'll be a lot more highlights on the sleeve, I would imagine, because yeah, the light will be coming from that way. So on this part of the sleeve especially, there will be a lot of the robin egg blue highlights. I'm trying to make these folds and kind of pleats or whatever they are in the fabric, make those look a little bit three-dimensional. So that would be where any white highlights go. I know this is printed, it's not solid, but I'm treating it as if it is for now. Just to add a little bit of shadow underneath there, the Indigo Light. I'm trying to make the pencil kind of heavy around these black lines because it's quite a dark colour, so I think that maybe that might help mask those black lines a little bit. Not that that's essential, but maybe give it a try. I'm not really going for realistic though. I'm definitely not going for realistic. Okay, let's figure out where my highlights will be going. This robin egg blue. These would be the edges that would be closest to the light source, so around there most likely. This edge. And these, if they are folds or pleats, they'll be curving out towards that light source. We might get a little bit on the furthest edge here. I don't think there's much in there, but we'll add a few little bits. Bring in the white, and I think this might be the Arteza white, so have this going in a kind of that kind of way. So you can see the pencil strokes maybe suggesting some sort of texture or weave to the fabric. Need some top here, I think, because this is a big poofy sleeve. A bit like Sarah's big poofy sleeve. It is coming out over the top there. Let's come back in with that indigo light now. Get a little bit more of a smooth blend going on. I think we do need to blend that white in a little bit better. Never really tried anything like this before. It just seems to be working out to look kind of iridescent, so trying to play on it to make it at least look like it could be silk or satin or something shiny. I might bring in the white highlights along those edges just to bring that sleeve up further towards us and look as if that is kind of three-dimensional. Make these edges a little bit harder because these seem to be very hard edges on the picture I'm looking at. So white. Hopefully it's easy enough to tell which pencil I'm actually using. These ones are fairly different. Maybe the cool grey. The blue might be something similar. I do try and remember. Not going entirely to plan now. Add some white highlights to those down there. Maybe along that top edge there. Neaten off that edge a little bit. We have a black cape behind there. That's not amazingly bad. Ended up not going quite according to plan on that sleeve there, but I think we can work with it. I'll just bring in this white as a bit of a highlight along these edges as well. Probably bring in the black. So it'll be fairly dark in that area there. Can neaten off this edge here. Neaten off this edge here. Did go off camera there, very sorry, but I've added some black into this shadow area here. And the darkest parts of the shadows would be on that kind of puff sleeve. Yeah, I'm not going to totally according to plan that sleeve, but I think once we put a little bit of glitter on there, glitter solves most problems when it comes to colouring. If in doubt, glitter it out. Not as bad as I feared, but not as good as I hoped, so we can work with that. Okay, we have some more these parts on his sleeve. And these are the blue. These are the blue, so again we're going in with the Indigo Light. We're gonna have the dark shadows underneath his arm. Oh, sorry. We're gonna have the dark shadows underneath his arm, so we'll bring that in quite dark, and then we're gonna want a white or a lighter edge around there to separate that from the shadows. So I'll leave a little bit of the marker showing. We can maybe put some white there. Just more of the same here with the Indigo Light, Robin Hood Blue, a little bit of the white for highlight. I even come back in with the white gel pen. We're going to have some shadow underneath where this could be a bracelet, I'm thinking, is coming up over his arm. Is it a bracelet when it's that far up your arm? I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, Robin Hood Blue on this middle part because his arm would curve around, meaning that these parts would be further away, this part in the middle closer to, so that would be where the light would be hitting it and making this iridescent effect. What I'm hoping is looking like an iridescent effect. Kind of shiny. Not so much on this piece underneath in the shadow. So we'll darken that a little bit. Won't be so much light getting there, but we do want to maybe have a suggestion of it, so we'll keep the white to here. And these edges in the middle. Yeah, it works much better on the smaller areas. I'm thinking this kind of effect. But it is actually working, so it's all good. Back in with the Indigo Light. Let me blend that in very slightly more. And yeah, as that arm is coming out, he's holding it around her waist. Just clean off the white pen there. I'll add in a couple white gel pen highlight. I can't stay away. Maybe a tiny little touch around there just to show that his arm is coming out around those shadows there, or out of those shadows rather. And we'll add some black into this Yeah. A shadow here. Looking at that, probably need a bit more highlight. Looks like we might be needing tiny bits of highlights here, so I'll just pop those in. Not as much as the other side, but I think it needs a suggestion there. There we go. Picked up the black to maybe start on this sleeve, but I'm thinking maybe, yeah, this arm kind of needs a little bit darker shadows towards this side. Yeah, looks a little bit better. Okay, let's look on this sleeve. We do have some lines drawn in here, so we'll use those. As a kind of guide to where the shadows should be. Mostly down this bottom part of his arm, I think, although we do want a little bit of a highlight along the bottom so that we can separate from the shadowy parts of his belt that we've got going on underneath his arm. We want this part of his arm to be the lightest. So let's bring in the fog grey, add in maybe some highlights along the top of this arm so we know where they're going. Let me curve a little bit around his arm there. Maybe actually bring in a bit of the white because this is going to be quite far in the front of the picture, so bring in a little bit of the white there. And a little bit of the light grey highlights underneath here. Storm grey, fog grey, isn't it? Fog grey. Maybe not so much there. Blend that out a little bit with the cool grey. Bringing in the cool grey there. Soften that black a little bit. And soften the fog grey. Make it not such a harsh highlight, maybe. Okay, this is Indigo Light. Blending in the fog grey at the bottom there into the blue. Kind of hoping that will work. As with most pictures, it's kind of experimenting, seeing which colours will work. We do have some kind of bold lines in this sleeve. If I was reading the line art correctly. So draw those in, and I might actually bring in the white highlights just to show that that arm is quite far towards the front of the picture. Fog grey again. I make the top of this arm pretty light, but still look as if the actual fabric it's made of is black, so okay, hoping something like that will look alright. Okay, bring in a couple of the white pen highlights. You know, can't stay away. Maybe a very tiny touch along this bottom edge as well. Just again to show that that arm is coming around in front of everything, pretty much around in front of everything else in the picture. So we do want a lot of contrast to make that kind of come forward. So with the black and the white, that should be enough contrast, I think. So maybe some more blue down this side, the Indigo Light. There we go. That'll do. And we have the tails of his coat here. From what I could tell about Jareth's costume when I looked it up, this was sort of like a tail coat. Like you get with a very posh tuxedo. So I decided to do this part blue here, which will be his jacket, coming down behind, and these will be his trousers or pants. And this is kind of pretty far back in the image, so we don't want to go too overboard with highlights here. We do want it to be fairly dark. But we still want to have some sort of indication of the folds that we've got in the line art there, so I'll try and bring in a little suggestion of that down there. Again, the colours for the blue that we're using Indigo Light from Castle Arts Gold. We're using Robin Egg Blue from Arteza. We're using the white, I think it's called White Quartz, also from Arteza. So hopefully those look different enough when I'm switching between them, you can tell. I will have put the names up on screen the first time I used them. It'll look, if I've remembered. So no colours at all used so far in this. Alright, this part is trousers, so the black be the main colour. And then fairly dark, so this dress, once we've actually put that dress in, we'll be covering most of this down here. A little bit of cool grey. I'll be very, very little of the fog grey down there because, yeah, not much light is getting through to there. we go, just so it looks as if we haven't forgotten it. And the Indigo Light to give a little bit of a blue tone to that shadow down there. There we go. I think that is Jareth's costume done. And like I mentioned, I do have some Dovecraft glitter glue in blue. This one is called Midnight. The Dovecraft glitter glue in Midnight. So I'm going to add a few little tiny bits, I think, especially to these darker areas of Jareth's costume, because, yeah, in the shot I'm looking at, it is a bit of a glittery jacket he's got going on. So I'm going to add some of this to the shadows. Just blending it out with my finger a little bit. Of course you don't have to, just leave it as it is. But I think, yeah, it would suit the image that we're going for, so I'm going to keep it mainly in the shadows, but I don't want to go too overboard, because in the picture that I'm looking at, his jacket looks really, really dark, and the glitter is just showing a little bit in the light, so I'm just trying to give like an impression that we have some glitter going on there. Of course, add as little or as much as you like. You don't have to add any at all. But there we are. We have some glitter going on his jacket there now. Not sure if that's showing in the lab, but yeah, we do have glittery bits on his jacket now, just to try and fit in with the movie. Okay, now I figured it's time to move on to Sarah's dress. And if you remember, I did trace out onto tracing paper. I drew the shape of the big ballroom skirt that her dress does have. So what I've done is I've traced that just onto some white paper, and I've just cut it out there. And the paper that I've used, for anybody that's interested, I usually use sketchbooks from WH Smith's here in the UK. So there's the sketchbook. That's the paper that I use, and they're not £3.99 anymore. This is a fairly old one, but I've traced it onto that paper and cut it out, and I'm just going to shade that with the same blue. This is BG203. And Sarah's ball dress, in the picture that I'm looking at here, it's kind of a greeny pink iridescent kind of fabric. I'm not exactly sure that the colours reflecting in this photo would actually work for translating it into the picture. So I'm going to try and use the same kind of colours that I used. You might remember from my finished pages video from my Angel by Jash Lee. So I'm going to use the same kind of colours that I used to try and get an iridescent effect on the angel's dress there. And those were actually Black Widows. As far as I can remember, these were they. There's Cobra CB55 Tulip. There's Monarch MN124 Cat's Eye. Monarch MN067 Milk. And Monarch MN107 Fudge. And I think I should be able to get something looking iridescent using these colours. I'm going to start with the Tulip, which is a kind of purple colour. I might need to bring in some darker shadows, and it's quite difficult to colour right on the edge of the paper here, but that was the easiest way to get the straight line happening. And I'm going to use the shading I did with the pen, with the marker, to try and make it look like this dress has got a little bit of shape, because in the photo that I'm looking at, the fabric is pretty stiff and it's folding into these pretty harsh lines. So I want to try and reflect that a little bit and give it a little bit of an iridescent look. I think once I've put on the glitter, that will help this effect a heck of a lot. Maybe some white highlights, little bits of sparkle. Could even stick on a few odd crystals, I don't know, we'll see how we're going, but yeah. And the idea is to have a few different colours reflecting onto this mainly white dress. So that is the tulip, the purpley colour. Then I moved on to the pink, a little bit of this pink fudge, I think this one was called. Yep, fudge. Just a few little glimmers of that. Then the cat's eye, which is a kind of bluish turquoisey colour. Got quite similar to the green that I can see reflecting onto this dress we have here. So hopefully that might help with this kind of iridescent effect I'm going for. I need to bring this purple down there, just for the shadow. And this is called Milk MN067. Very creamy yellowy colour. Which will hopefully, I think, give a kind of rainbow sort of iridescent effect. Not quite the same as the dress I'm looking at in this photo here. It's a lot more, I don't know, a very spring green kind of colour reflecting into the dress somehow. I think we've got some kind of an iridescent effect happening there that should work once we get the glitter onto there with a bit of luck. And I did actually bring in a darker purple, the Grape Cobra CB118 Grape. I brought that in and I did blend with the white Arteza as well. But I think we do have a little bit of an iridescent effect going on there. Not quite the same colours as in the photo that I'm looking at. But I think we've got something that might work once I add a bit of glitter. And as I've been saying, this is not exactly going to be the exact same costumes from the movie. That would be very hard to get it exactly, I think, but I think it will give the idea. It's inspired by the Labyrinth. It's not an exact copy, so I've forgotten what it's called. First of all, I was bringing in the tulip for most of the shadows, kind of following these lines that I've drawn with the marker. Because looking at the photo, the dress is pretty stiff and it does form into these quite fine sort of folds like this. So I tried to bring that through a little bit into what I drew. These colours maybe not matching completely with Jarab's outfit, to be honest. I didn't really check. But yeah, and once I'd done that, I was coming in with the cat's eye, trying to blend that maybe a little bit into the purple and trying to follow this curve again. Blending out that blue, lifting off the pressure as I get further up. I'm going to try and bring in some of the yellow, the cream yellow. And there'll be a few layers of these colours, possibly. There was for my little test. There are a few layers of these colours. And trying to keep with this kind of curvy idea of the folds. As the dress comes out and then curves down, quite defined sort of folds. It's fairly stiff from what I can tell. And that blue is fading into the milk, I think this is called. Yeah. I'm layering with those colours until I've got something that's fairly acceptable. I did, as I say, bring in this grape colour. And kind of heavy on the purple, maybe. But I think it'll probably work. I think once we put the glitter on, and the glitter does have a quite a distinctive green tinge to it. I think the Dovecraft, I think it's called Crystal. I found it to have quite a distinctive green tinge to it. So that might kind of echo what we can actually see in the photo with the green. A bit of the fudge pink. The cat's eyes. Yeah, this dress is technically white, but looking at the photo, it doesn't look white at all. It does have quite a cream colour tinge to it, and the green. Oh, it is so difficult colouring on the edge of this paper. I should have gone in the middle bit. Yeah, once we blend these, I think. And add the glitter, we might be getting somewhere close. Yeah, there isn't actually much white showing, except in the very highlights where these kind of distinct folds here. And distinct folds are coming through. I'm hoping I can make this kind of colour scheme work with what we already have going on in the picture. Okay, let's move on to the next kind of fold here. A bit more of a highlight on this one because we're coming round closer to where the light source is. Still want to look as if the dress is fairly stiff and heavy and folding down once it gets so far out. So that's the tulip. Moving into cat's eye. This is the milk. Maybe if I bring in the Indigo Light that we did use on Jareth's costume and use that for a little bit of these shadows, that might blend in to the rest of the picture slightly more, I think. And also maybe add to the kind of iridescent effect. We would have darker shadows towards this side, as the light would be coming from the right still. And in the white for a little bit blending there. Kind of dying to see how it would look with the glitter. But I know that if I put glitter on it now, that will be all over my hands in the next 5 minutes. A few little bits of pink. Back to the grape. Try and make the colours lighter as you come around towards where the light is going to be. We still have quite dramatic shadows though, so I'll use this Indigo Light again. Alright, I'm sorry about that. My son came back from school and wanted to chat, so I paused the recording and I forgot to start it again. So there'll probably be a bit of a jump there. But yeah, I'm just using those same colours. The tulip, cat's eye, fudge and milk, and then I brought in the Indigo Light, the same colour I used for shading on Jareth's costume, to bring in a bit of shadow to maybe make their costumes look a little more cohesive, make this dress fit into the picture a little bit more. As you can see, I've kept the dark shadows more towards this side of the dress, coming over into the light over here. while still trying to give it that, I think, hopefully, a bit of a kind of iridescent sort of look to it, with the blue, the yellow and the pink, as opposed to the green that's actually in the actual film. But I don't think the green would have really worked, to be honest with you. And maybe where this yellowy cream colour goes over the blue, that might make a kind of green tone that might somewhat resemble what's in the actual film. And looking at the phone at the moment, my battery seems to be running quite low because I have been filming for quite a while again, and this is the second time actually filming this dress. I did try at first to make it resemble a little bit closer the dress from the actual film, and that wasn't working at all with the pink and the green. It looked really odd, so I've gone back to these colours that I did use on my angel from Josh Lee, and I think that seems to be working a lot better. I'm a lot more happier with this, so we're going to go with that. But this will probably be about the last that I'll be able to do in this video, stick on this skirt for the dress. Next time we'll finish off Sarah's costume, move on to the leaves and the background. So hopefully this little series will be just the 3 videos. A little bit on the longer side. But I want to try and keep them as unedited as possible. Just, as I said, get rid of the pencil sharpening breaks, the coffee breaks. Any times where I stumble over my words. Anything like that. This is the grape. Just adding some more of those dark purple shadows, because even though we are in the sunlight, there will be some quite strong shadows. Well, sunlight, I'm saying sunlight, it's the light source, whatever light source is in the ballroom where this scene is happening. So there's the grape that I'm using for the darker shadows, but maybe a little bit of this indigo light. And the same colours as we've used all the way through from the other side. Keeping on with the same, this is the cat's eyes, or cat's eye rather. Bringing in that blue colour, again trying to keep the fairly well defined, I would say, these kind of curvy folds in the dress, as the fabric is pretty stiff and heavy. And I have actually added a tiny little bit of glitter to the one edge there. I couldn't resist. I went in and added a little bit of glitter. I don't know if we can make that sparkle. I am actually running low on that crystal glitter, so we'll be able to make it work for this picture, I think, and then I'll be getting some more of that. But yeah, I'm just going to finish off this skirt and we'll stick that on. Maybe put on the rest of the glitter, a few crystals here and there, maybe if I'm feeling kind of extra and excessive, I might go for that. And then we'll be calling it. Next time I'll be finishing off Sarah's costume, moving on to the background, maybe adding a few bits of collage that I'm maybe vaguely planning. Not entirely sure on that. Just out of interest, yeah, I do have the other version of the skirt is here, and you can see where I used the green and the pink with the warm greys for the shadows. This is a lot more what the dress actually looks like in the film, but I think for the picture that we're colouring, that really wouldn't fit at all. It does look a lot like the picture in the film with these little flecks of green where the lights are hitting it, the warm greys for the shadows, and mainly the pink going on there. But yeah, I didn't think that would work at all for what we're aiming for. So I went back to these colours that were kind of tried and tested, that I hoped would maybe we could make work. And I think this has worked, yeah, a heck of a lot better, just at the side-by-side comparison there. As a comparison, that is the skirt that I did colour earlier with the pink and the green, and yeah, I don't think it looks maybe a little bit more realistic. This one is slightly more on the fantasy side, but I think it's working a lot better. to my eyes anyway. Hopefully you guys will agree with me. It's working a lot better than bringing in that green, which is a lot more like what is actually on the film, but yeah, really wasn't working for me, wasn't speaking to me, that wasn't. But once I switched to these Black Widow colours and did the same kind of effect I did for my angel, then yeah. I'm not entirely sure these are exactly the same colours, but they're working, so I will stick with it. Blending with the white Arteza there. I have been in as well and added a few white gel pen sparkles, as you can see here, just little dots of the white gel pen to bring in the sparkle for that dress. There will be glitter on top. Maybe I'll try just adding the glitter first, I think, and then going into add the rhinestones, a little bit of crystals if I feel like it needs it next time when we come back to this image. But for now, yeah, I'm pretty happy with how today is gone. Aside from that little false start really I had going on with the dress for the first colours, I think I was overcomplicating it there, trying too hard to make it look like the actual film. Whereas I said from the beginning, this is a tribute, it's not going to be exact. There we go, that's not looking too bad. And we do have the lighter colours over here towards where the light source would be, and I will add a few, just adding in a few little bits of the fudge pink there. Fairly random, I think, with those. Turn those in with the white. I'll bring in the light indigo or indigo light, just to boost those shadows a little tiny bit, and of course make it match the rest of the dress where I did use this light indigo for the shadows. Maybe around there. There'll be a bit more shadow than what I've actually done there. Yeah, that's looking slightly better. I don't want to go too crazy and make the dress look as if it's actually meant to be purple. Even if it doesn't look like iridescent white, which I'm hoping it does. But even if it doesn't, it's a pretty dress. And I think it's kind of fitting for the image, for the picture. And it should remind us of the labyrinth, which is the whole point. And so that sparkles in. A few white highlights along the edges of these folds. And it probably looks a little bit odd watching me color this on its own. But once we add this to the picture, I think, yeah, it will be looking good. Let's maybe make some bigger sparkles. There we go, to add to that kind of fantasy, sparkly ball dress that I remember envying as a child. Alright, now is the moment of truth, time to cut out this skirt and add it to the actual image. We're all cut out there, I'm just going to add a couple little highlights to these folds in the dress. Again, trying to emphasize that sort of stiff fabric. Maybe there'll be one here as well, possibly. Let's get that stuck onto our image. Just adding the glue to the back of our skirt now. And we're all cut out. I'm going to add it to the image. This will be the moment of truth. does our effect work with the rest of the picture? Just using some scrap paper to rub that down there to make sure that's stuck. We can touch up any little lines that we need to. I thought as I was actually colouring this that yeah, I won't be exact here, but it's fairly easy to touch up. I'm going to zoom us out now so we can get the effect of the full picture. I think that's fitting in quite nicely with the picture as a whole, so I'm just going to go ahead and add the glitter glue now. And I'm going to be quite liberal with it because yeah, this dress is really sparkly in the movie. So we're going to try and add quite a lot of this. I'm just blobbing it on. And spreading it out with my finger. And this is Dovecraft glitter glue in Crystal, I think this one is called. Yeah, Crystal, which I need some more of. Definitely need some more of. So I'll add quite a lot of that. Which again will hopefully add to the idea of this dress being sort of iridescent, and it does have kind of a green sort of sheen, so that if nothing else is in keeping with the movie. And hopefully it won't affect being stuck down with the glue stick on the back so much. I'm hoping it won't. There we go, we are all sparkly now. I can get that to shine in the light, I don't know. Never wants to show up. But yeah, that skirt is really sparkly now. Yeah, I think that's showing up there. We have a lot of glitter going on that skirt now, and I think it is fitting in with the rest of the image. And once I've added the sleeve, we have this sleeve here. Once again, that'll be cut out of the white paper, be coloured in and cut out of the white paper and stuck on there, coloured in the same colours as I've used on this dress, which I think is yeah really working to give that kind of iridescent, maybe white idea. So yeah, that's been a fairly productive day today, I think. I'm quite happy with how it's coming along so far. I look forward to catching up with you all next time when we'll finish off Sarah's dress and move on to the background, hopefully finish off the image next time. It'll probably be another long one, I'm afraid, so yeah, you'll be ready with your snacks and your drinks, hopefully. But yeah, take care everybody, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in future videos. Bye!